There's no property lines in this house.
No, there is property
Oh,
lines.
really?
Yeah.
No.
No, on our bed. We have a king-size bed, and there's a zipper in the middle because there's two mattresses. I have a hard, firm mattress, and you have a cloud. Because you're like an angel, you have to sleep on the clouds.
Where did you fall
And there's
asleep?
a zipper line.
Where did you fall asleep last night?
On my side of the rock.
On
because
the
my
zipper.
feet are firmly planted on the rock.
On the line.
Did I really?
Yeah.
Look at the top of my
You
coffee. It's
sleep-
oily. I think that's a good thing.
It is. You sleep as close to me as you possibly can.
Mm.
Which is adorable. Adorable.
Is it?
It is.
I'm sensing something
No.
unadorable.
No. I'm joking. It's not why I couldn't fall asleep. And then I sometimes I'll roll over and go as close to you as I want to without touching.
Just to
I'm like,
freak me out,
There
just
he
to be
is. There he is.
feel my. Did you ever do that in the night? Get up to go to your parents' bed?
I don't think I did. I know
Me
for
and my
sure
brother did it all the time.
my
But we
brothers
lived in
did.
Asia. It's freaky stuff going on there. I remember once, because there would be stuff on the floor in the night. You'd have to be a little bit careful. I remember
Stuff with legs. Is that what you're talking about? Things with
some
legs?
with no legs.
Okay,
And
I'm not.
And so I remember getting up being terrified from a nightmare, and I go to get out my door, and there's this line laying on the floor, and I'm like, I froze to wait for it to move, and it didn't move, and it didn't move, and it didn't move, and I went back to bed. I know.
How could you go back
Because I
to
thought it
bed?
was a snake just laying there, and I didn't want to.
So you just thought you'd let it hang out in your
And
house?
so the next day, it was like this piece of stick that we had been playing with. I was like, oh, wasn't a snake.
I cannot believe you went back to bed.
Once we had where we lived, there was the kampung, which is the village, like how you would think an Indonesian village would be, actually floor.
Oh, I've been to China.
Mud floors, and there was a little creek and then a bridge, and so we lived right at the edge of that, and so it's all greened, and we had our little subdivision, and so we had a 1.5 vehicle roadway, gravel. And I remember riding my bike once down that gravel road, and I hit something.
Yes.
And I lifted my feet
Lovely.
in horror, and a snake from that edge of the ditch, and it was right across the road, went up like, wah!
The exact same thing just happened to me when I was walking dogs in the forest with your mom, social distancing.
With a
Down by
garter
the Ottawa
snake.
River.
A garter snake.
Down by the Ottawa
They
River.
max out at 10 inches long. And
I cleaned up the dog's mess on the path, and we started walking again, and I went to put my foot down and lifted my foot in horror, and it slithered away.
garter snakes actually do bite,
It was this big.
You gotta be careful. It was like a worm. But green. They're green and brown. They actually bite. We've caught one in it, it'll
So
bite.
I've seen garter snakes multiple times in the forest. I've never seen them before
I
in the
know.
forest.
Is there a garter snake
I don't
epidemic?
understand. But I've also, in my last sermon at church before COVID, I talked about snakes.
You remember that far back?
Yeah, my last sermon about at church, I talked about snakes, and I've had a couple of snake dreams before I saw the garter snakes. So I'm a little bit.
Oh my goodness, what's happening?
I don't know. We're gonna not talk about that right now.
Somebody else had a snake dream
Yeah,
recently.
I don't know what to make of it, and I just wrote it in.
I
wrote about it in my journal.
Sure, other people will. You should Facebook
Left
that.
it there.
Hey, I had a couple snake dreams. Preached about snakes.
I've prayed about it.
Stumbled across a couple garter snakes. Let's not hope that the snakes get bigger. Maybe.
Well,
because of our rat problem.
I mean,
The snakes are coming, converging.
When I preached about snakes, it was that if you are going to.
Do you think garter snakes eat rats?
No. They were that big. When I preached about snakes, it was just that, a little piece of, I just said, if you are going to sleep with snakes, you're going to get bit. That's all I said.
Oh, and now
It
we're
was more
talking
like
about
a word of.
Oh, this goes
warning.
back to the sides of the bed, and
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, now you're freaking me out. I have anxiety.
You're going to get bit. No, I'm just kidding.
A helpful tool, property lines, a helpful tool in our recovery, especially in the behavior we call detachment is learning to identify who owns what. Whew. Then we let each person own and possess his or her rightful property. If another person has an addiction, a problem, a feeling, or a self defeating behavior, that is their property, not ours. If someone is a martyr, immersed in negativity, controlling, or manipulative, that is their issue, not ours. If someone has acted and experienced in a particular consequence, both the behavior and the consequence belong to that person. If someone is in denial or cannot think clearly on a particular issue, that confusion belongs to him or her. If someone has a limited or impaired ability to love or care, that is his or her property, not ours. If someone has no approval or nurturing to give away, that is that person's property. People's lies, deceptions, tricks, manipulations, abusive behaviors, inappropriate behaviors, cheating behaviors, and tacky behaviors belong to them, not us. People's hopes and dreams are their property. Their guilt belongs to them too. Their happiness or misery is also theirs. So are their beliefs and messages. If some people don't like themselves, that is their choice. Other people's choices are their property, not ours. What people choose to say and do is their business. What is our property? Our property includes our behaviors, problems, feelings, happiness, misery, our ability to love, care, and nurture, our thoughts, our denial, our hopes, and our dreams for ourselves. Whether we allow ourselves to be controlled, manipulated, deceived, or mistreated is our business. In recovery, we learn an appropriate sense of ownership. If something isn't ours, we don't take it. If we take it, we learn to give it back. Let other people have their property and learn to own and take good care of what's ours. Prayer for today. Today, I will work at developing a clear sense of what belongs to me and what doesn't. If it's not mine, I won't keep it. I will deal with myself, my issues, and my responsibilities. I will take my hands off of what is not mine. Amen. Oh, that's a tricky one, eh? I think that a lot of times, especially in leadership, I kind of would lead people into letting people have their own problem and not being part of their problem and dealing with conflict properly and honestly, and being effective even if it's hard, because you don't want to have them, you don't want their problem to be, you don't want to be a part of their problem. So, man, this is a good one. Oh, like a little kid taking somebody's toy. We have two little kids in our lives, and the one is a little bit bigger, and if he wants a toy, he just grabs it. And then there's a problem. The problem arises is when the other person pushes back and grabs back. What would you suggest for the other little child not to have the same problem as the first child? Go to a parent.
I think this is a really complicated concept. I
This
just don't think it's
very,
the same, or that's
no. But
that's
what do we do for them to keep their problem? Is I go to the parent and I say, he pushed me, he took my toy. But we have the same ability and the same conscious contact with a Father in heaven who is there. We are his sheep. He hears our voice, and we can go to him and let that person have their problem and not be a part of it. I thought that was good.
right. But I think that when you live in a home with people, you live with people in a house, and someone has a problem, it's very difficult to just say, like, well, it's just not going to affect me. It's your problem. Right? Like, and so how...
I was talking more out of the home. You bring it into the home, and yes, that's a very can be very volatile, can be very extreme emotions, and you're living in it all the time. Yeah, that's hard. So then how do you deal with that?
And I think bringing it to God and to prayer and meditation, those are really intentional practices that when you start to incorporate them into your life can really change everything. I remember moments of just such frustration, and just, just I need someone to talk this out with, right? Like, and the person that you're with isn't always the person that you can talk that out with. And so I think God, a higher power, prayer is a really good tool to use when we're trying to figure out where these property lines are and whether or not this is actually, how do I extricate myself? I don't know if extricate myself is the right word.
You've been Scrabble again, haven't you? Wow.
But yeah, I think learning, and I mean, so often we're trying to navigate relationship, right? We're always trying to navigate relationship, and relationships are really complicated. And to just, I think oftentimes people wind up cutting somebody off because they just can't deal. And maybe that's an extreme that sometimes has to happen because you've got two people that are trying to figure something out. But to me, that's just not ideal, to just cut someone off and not be in relationship with someone that is a member of my family or that I truly love or care about. Wasn't how I wanted to leave things. And so then you start kind of tiptoeing back into relationship of like, okay, what's this going to look like? How do we figure this out?
Well, and when you're enmeshed in a codependent relationship, my identity, your identity or my identity actually comes from you. I'm taking on your identity, and if you're okay, then I'm okay, and I'm actually taking that from you. And so that's those are really, this is a really deep subject and affects lots of unhealthy relationships. And
we do often, like when it says people's lies, deceptions, tricks, manipulations, abusive behaviors, inappropriate behaviors, cheating behaviors, and tacky behaviors belong to them, not us. And I was just thinking about that, and I'm like, so often we feel like people are doing things to us, like I personalize what's happening, and I think this is telling us, like, actually no, it's just saying something about them. How do I kind of be my best self, be the best Vicky that I can be, the Vicky I want to be, and let the people around me be who they are, figure out, their issues.
And I think I always have a part. I can cross boundaries, and I think that, if people cross my boundaries or I cross them, then there's this victim card either way. Because now they're talking bad about me or they're setting up these boundaries and I can be a victim, and there's no recovery when I'm a victim because I'm just so self-focused on me and my hurt and my pain, and then vengeance is mine, and then I gossip about them and I divide, and then I'm all of these things, abusive, manipulative, tricky, I tell half-truths, all of that stuff, and it really hurts people.
I don't know that I would just say that there's no recovery when I'm a victim. I think that there's no life and hope when I'm a victim. And maybe that's, to you, that's what recovery means. But I just think for other people, they could hear you say recovery and think, oh, that doesn't apply to me. But I think when people have been hurt, when people have been wounded, when they're in hard relationships, life and hope and joy does not come from living as a victim. And so learning how to let other people be who they are, as messed up as they are or as hard as their life is, and figure out our property line of like, actually this isn't mine, this is yours, and I'm gonna love you. What does that look like to like love somebody but not actually get into the dirty, mucky like pit with them? It's I think it's a really,
Yeah, and crossing lines and being crossed, there it builds resentment and fear and
mm-hmm,
shame, and that um, eliminates my conscious contact with God. And so then I become self-centered,
mm-hmm.
self-seeking.
So praying that God or our higher power under can help us understand what's mine, help me see my part. And I love the recovery concept of owning my part, even if it's only 10%.
Mm.
Even if it's only 10%, that's the part that I can own. That's the part that I can say, like, actually, I did this and it was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry that I hurt you. And, leaving it at that
Mm-hmm.
without expectation of how that other person is going to react. Um,
And then setting inappropriate boundary lines as hurt people, it's actually a form of control.
hmm,
And so this is a very deep subject, and we could probably
hmm,
base 10 talks around it.
mm-hmm.
Any final comment?
No, I'll just repeat the prayer. So, God, we just thank you. And I just pray that we can continue to work at developing a clear sense of what belongs to us and what doesn't. And that if it's not mine, I won't keep it. That I will learn to deal with myself, my issues, and my responsibilities. And that I can take my hands off of what is not mine and walk into the freedom and joy and hope and peace that